Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop Brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
Happy holidays! Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a Happy Holiday.
My career in the entertainment industry has enabled me to work with a diverse range of talent. Through my years of experience, I've recognized two essential aspects. Industry professionals, whether famous stars or behind-the-scenes staff, have fascinating stories to tell. Secondly, audiences are eager to listen to these stories, which offer a glimpse into their lives and the evolution of their life stories. This podcast aims to share these narratives, providing information on how they evolved into their chosen career. We will delve into their journey to stardom, discuss their struggles and successes, and hear from people who helped them achieve their goals. Get ready for intriguing behind-the-scenes stories and insights into the fascinating world of entertainment. Hi, I'm Tony Mantor. Welcome to Almost Live Nashville. In the early 1960s, before the British music explosion fully took hold, one singer had already made his mark. Eden Kane burst onto the scene in 1961 with his single Well I Ask You, which shot straight to number one. With his smooth vocals, striking presence, and a string of chart hits, he quickly became one of the most recognizable names of the era, touring alongside some of the biggest stars in the UK and abroad. His story didn't end with early fame. In the 1970s, he moved to LA, where he not only continued to make music, but also discovered a new path in television and film. Fans of science fiction will know him from his appearance in the legendary Star Trek series. From hit singles to the bright lights of Hollywood, his journey is one of reinvention, resilience, and lasting impact. He joins us today to share his remarkable journey, from his early days in England to the release of his latest single. So before we dive into our episode, we'll be back with an uninterrupted show right after a word from our sponsors.
Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop Brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, and thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I find it interesting sometimes people have varying stories on how they started in music. So how did you get started?
Well, it all started with Lonnie Donegan. No, with a skiffle group, I guess. Actually, the first thing was getting a guitar, which I was entranced with guitars and Elvis and Bill Haley and those guys, as were a lot of people, from that era. Once I got the guitar, that was the beginning, and I learned a few chords, started to sing along with it. So that's basically how it began. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Now, was this a family thing, or did you just pick up the guitar and start learning music on your own?
Well, we was kind of musical in a way. My mother used to play the piano a little bit. My dad, he played the banjo, actually, and the harmonica. I remember him doing that. So I guess there was some sort of family influence. But basically, when I first started, it was just my mother because my dad had passed away. So it was just my mom and my two brothers, younger than me. And so we all got interested in music, not necessarily at the same time. And it was just one of those things that, okay, so, all right, so go ahead, knock yourself out. So we did. Yeah.
So starting out, then, it was just you.
Yeah, it was mainly me to start with. I was the first one to kind of get the guitar. I was the oldest, so I got the guitar. And then, it turns out that my brother Peter came next, and then Clive, Robin, he also sort of joined in a couple of years later. All this happened in school when I had the skiffle group. All these things happened very quickly. And then my brothers joined in type of thing, and they joined in the band. And the strangest thing that happened was I had this guitar, and I didn't realize that my brother Peter, this was years later, I left the guitar. I'd gone on tour, and I'd left the guitar in England, and he picked up the guitar, and he said he wrote "Where Do You Go to My Lovely" on that guitar.
Wow.
On that very guitar. So there's a bit interesting history there.
That's awesome. I just love hearing stories like that. You never know where a song's going to come from.
Yeah, it turned out to be, better than expected, shall we say.
Now, what happened when you got out of school? Was that when you got signed to a record label?
No, when I got out of school, I had a band and we were doing gigs around Croydon. I was living in Norbury, which is very close to Croydon. And so we used to do youth clubs and things like that. Once we had a semblance of a band, we decided to get out there and do something. So we did the youth clubs and the local halls, town halls and things like that. It wasn't a sophisticated deal. It was just very rough and ready. But then that led from skiffle, it just led to rock and roll. Then we started to get amplification and, and then it moved on from there.
Yeah. You went to amplification. You went more to rock and roll. What were some of the transitions you went through from there? How long after that was it when you decided that, hey, I'm kind of liking this? Maybe this needs to be my priority?
Yeah, that's a very interesting, question. I never thought to myself, oh, I'm born to do this, and therefore I'm going to pursue this career. The word career just didn't, my mother thought, well, you're going to, you got to go to the city, get a job. And I was interested in draftsmanship and architecture and things. So I joined a firm. So I was doing a 9 to 5 gig. And it was just by sheer chance that I happened to enter a talent contest. Once the band was going and things like that, I entered the talent contest, which I happened to win. And by chance, a guy who was later to be my manager happened to be at the contest. And then he called his partner and said, I think we found someone that we want to promote. I mean, it was right time, right place type of deal.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've talked with a few people that's had that kind of story, and it's just great.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great experience. I mean, you're doing it because you love to do it.
Yeah.
You started out doing it just to compete.
Right.
And it's a great feeling that people love your music.
Yeah, and it was an amazing surprise, but it was a good surprise. Thought, oh, wait a minute, this looks good, especially when the guys eventually managed me, said, get back on the bus, don't talk to anybody, and we'll be in touch with you. And the next thing I know, after the contest, I was making a record. So that was amazing.
Yeah, that's a great story. Where was your first record cut?
Well, the first record was at Pi Records because my managers happened to be A&R guys at Pi.
Great label to start on.
They already had a lot of experience in the business. And the first song I ever did was because this particular talent contest was run by Cadbury's Chocolate, and it was to promote Cadbury's drinking chocolate. And so when I won the contest, I thought, I think I'm going to write a little song about Cadbury's drinking chocolate. I'd been dabbling in writing songs a little bit, And so I came up with that song called Hot Chocolate Crazy. So the first song we did was Hot Chocolate Crazy at Pi Records, but, it didn't work. Just Hot Chocolate Crazy. No, not quite. And then Richard Starr said, no, that's not going to work. So basically they said, we're going to change the name. Mind you, I did do it under Eden Kane, but the managers decided to promote me as Eden Kane. They didn't think Richard Sarstead was going to work. It wouldn't look good on a marquee or whatever.
Yeah.
So it all happened, very quickly, starting in 1960. And then in 61 was actually the pivotal year when Will I Ask You came out.
Yeah, that was a great year for you because Will I Ask You actually became a big hit record for you.
Yeah, it did. They found a songwriter who had written a big hit for Adam Faith called What Do You Want? And he'd written other things as well. So at the time, he was going under the name of Johnny Worth. So eventually he came up with Will I Ask You for Me? We recorded it, and it eventually went to #1.
Yeah, that's great. A #1 song, other hit songs out there. With all this going on, how did that impact your life?
Initially, it was sort of unbelievable because, I was still living at home in Norbury and everything continued the same, more or less, until one day they said, you better listen to the radio, Rick, because they're going to play your song. Then I heard my song on the radio And then pretty soon after that, things did change because the next thing you know, I was doing TV shows because the song was a hit. So I was doing like Thank You Lucky Stars and Top of the Pops and all that kind of stuff. So in that way, it pretty much changed drastically. Suddenly going, wait a second, I'm in the pop star business. It was a bit of a surprise. And I said, I'm just going to roll with it and see what happens.
Absolutely. I mean, you had a number one song on the radio.
Yeah.
Then 2 or 3 more top 10 songs.
Yeah. They decided, well, even now, of course, as soon as you have any sort of inkling of a hit, there's another one in the can, and you release that one as well. So it was very, very fast because they went back to Johnny and said, write us another one, do the follow-up. And so the follow-up was Get Lost. Then after Get Lost, which a few months later, he wrote Forget Me Not. It was a short space of time when they were all one after another.
Yeah, you had a number 1, a number 10, a number 3, a number 7. I mean, 4 back to back to back.
Yeah, because after that, I parted company with my management because they sort of, shall we say, broke up. They went their different ways. I guess business wasn't too good. But so I said, okay, now what am I going to do? And by this time, the bands had come in. The Beatles came in and the Cherry and the Plum. And so the solo singers were kind of left behind a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, that happens. So what was next?
In 64, I was lucky enough, after I changed labels to a label called Fontana, and we recorded Boys Cry. And so in 1964, I had another hit. So that was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, while you was doing all this, putting out records and everything, was you touring a lot?
Oh, yes. It was the days of the Larry Pounds concerts, and it was the days of Billy Fury and Marty Wilde and Cliff Richard. And, I'd looked up to these guys. I was a few years behind them, and I used to watch them on Oh Boy, and I was, pretty impressed. And then eventually when I got to meet these guys, it was amazing. So I toured with Billy a lot. Then I toured with Helen Shapiro and Sandy Shaw and, people of that era. So that was good. And later on, I did a lot of tours with Marty Wilde, my good buddy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Good times. Now, with everything that you had going on, many different people pulling at you from different directions, what did your day-to-day look like?
Well, but the day-to-day was basically keeping the thing going, It was like, okay, I've got this, and now I've got to keep doing it in order to keep making it work, because it's easy to get complacent.
Yes, very true.
But I'd already had a lot of publicity, and it was a matter of, am I going to stick with it? You usually have 2 choices. Either you stick with it or you don't. So I stuck with it, and then I thought, okay, groups are in now. I've been lucky enough to have another song, and it was a hit in Australia as well. So Boys Cry. And I had done a couple of tours in Australia already with, people like Del Shannon, Roy Orbison, and the Searchers. And so that was an option for me. A guy in Australia who became my manager at that point said, come to Australia, mate. We'll make some, I'll get you some work. So I went to Australia in 1967. Yeah. And stayed there for 2 years.
That's a great option. What was it like making that move from the UK to Australia? Different cultures.
Yeah, well, I got on a plane. No, sorry.
That's okay. Better than swimming there.
It wasn't that much of a shock and that much of a, transition because I'd already done it. I'd already got on a plane and flown off to Australia or whatever. I'd been traveling around the world. I'd been to New York already and stuff like that. And so that particular part of it wasn't it was just, this is where the work is. I'm going to go where the work is. So then it was just a matter of saying, let's do it. Let's get this done.
Now, I think you mentioned New York. When did you make that move to the U.S.?
The U.S., because I'd already stopped by in the U.S. on one of the tours. I think it was a tour I did with the Searchers that we went off to Australia to do the tours. We stayed in Hollywood. On the way there, we stopped in L.A. I happened to be at this hotel where all the guys were staying, and an interview was set up with a magazine called Record World Magazine, which was similar to a Billboard and Cashbox and magazines like that were already in existence. So those 3 were the music magazines. And so a lady who came with her friend to actually interview the Searchers. And so I happened to meet this young lady, and we became friends, and I gave her my phone number, etc. So this is all in 1964, I think it was, yeah. But we kind of kept in touch over the years. And so basically, it was a girl that brought me back to LA, not to mention palm trees on the boulevards and the beaches and the magic of Hollywood, of course, I was always a big movie fan, etc. And it was just great to be here. So eventually, I ended up here.
Yeah, that just makes sense. Now, speaking of the glamour of Hollywood, I see that your wife has a Hollywood connection as well. I see her sister is none other than Stephanie Powers.
When I first met her, and she was a reporter at the time, I didn't know. And of course, I didn't know for a long time because it's not something that she, by the way, I'm the sister. So over the years, as we kept in touch, her being in America and I was in England, that was never really brought up until we all got together again, and I came back from Australia and stopped off to say hello. I just called to say, I love you. Yeah. So I came back, and then, of course, it all came about, and the whole scene was completely changed. Movie stars, Hollywood. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tremendous story. And that's the beauty of what you do in the music industry. You just never know who you're going to meet, and you never know what's around the next corner.
I never thought that I would ever become friends with like Del Shannon, people I had admired, and now I got to meet several people like that. I hate to name drop, like Robert Wagner and Natalie Wood and people like that back in the day, mainly because of Stephanie, Stephanie Powell, she moved in those circles, and so I drifted into it basically, and it was terrific, because I'd admired these people for a long time.
I can completely relate to what you just said. A lot of the stars that I listened to growing up, all of a sudden, I was getting to meet them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The best part about it is they were calling me, then mentioning that we need to work on a project sometime.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the music business. You just never know who's going to call you or who you might run into that could wind up working together on a project. That's the beauty of this business and how the process can work.
No, you never know. I remember when I went to New York, when my managers thought, okay, we're going to go to New York. We've got a lot of hit records here. We're going to go to America. This is pre-Beatles. So I went to New York. I met Murray the K, the DJ. They took me on the DJ little route. In those days, you took your stuff to the DJs. We went to the Apollo, I think it was. These groups that were there that were amazing, so like the Supremes and the Miracles and, Smokey. And I popped my head into the door of these music legends that were already huge stars all over the world. And then later on, I became friends, and we're still friends.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Hollywood.
Yeah.
For all the Star Trek fans, the Trekkies, you were in several episodes for several years in that series.
Yeah. At Paramount, I worked at Paramount Studios, behind the scenes mainly. I never really said I wanted to be an actor. That's not something. But on the other hand, I can say a few lines here and there. The first one was Next Generation with Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, and so that was amazing. I was on there for 7 years as Klingons and Borgs and things like that. So they blah, blah, blah. But in the meantime, while I was doing the Next Gen, the 60s revival tours, so the producers, I became friends with the producers, and I said, look, I got to go to England to do a tour. They said, don't worry, you go there, do your tour, and when you come back, you'll still have a gig here. Oh, fantastic. So that really worked out well. So then with Star Trek, back to Star Trek. So I stayed there for 7 years. And then the next series was a show called Star Trek Voyager with Kate Mulgrew, the female captain, and she was amazing. And so that was another 7 years. And they gave me a few little roles there, not very famously, tiny things, except for the very last episode of Voyager, where I was a general or an admiral on the bridge of the Enterprise, and I helped to save mankind. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
Don't mention it. So that was great to end that. And so I was very happy about that.
Yeah, that's just a great, great story for sure. Now we fast forward to now. You're back doing music again.
It's basically, it is all about the music. And I'd written this song a few years ago, and I remember I used to do it in my act, actually, when I did the tours. And the last one we did was like just over 2 years ago in England. And I would do the song at the end of the show, just a little bit of this particular song, because it was up-tempo and thought it was a fairly decent rock and roll song. So we did it, and people seemed to like it. So I was thinking to myself, well, it couldn't hurt to try to re-record it and see what happens. I'm still fit enough to, I think, be able to do a few shows and things like that. Now we're hoping it's climbing the heritage charts right now, and hopefully it'll get a little bit higher. And people are voting for it, so that's great.
Yeah. What's the name of the song?
It's called A Little Bit of Rock and Roll.
Nice. Now, where did you record this song?
I recorded it here in Beverly Hills, actually, a studio with a friend of mine who is a very famous producer. And he goes back to the 60s, the Beach Boys and all that kind of stuff. And his name is Michael Lloyd. So Michael said, all right, Rick, why don't we do this? And so I recorded it at his studio just down the road from here. That's how it started.
Yeah, and that's a great start. Now, you've done so many things, singing, writing, TV series. It seems you've gone full circle. You're back to singing again. What's next? What's on the agenda?
Keep breathing. That's one.
Yeah, that's a good thing to think about.
And basically to move on to the next thing and to try to make it work. It's important to have projects, I think, at any age. So I just want to keep going and keep doing something useful.
Absolutely. That's a great thing to think about. So any shows in the future?
Well, I have done a couple of things here and there, but nothing of any import. I'm hoping to come back to England at some point and do a few gigs. With that in mind, it's something to look forward to. Hopefully, it'll come to pass.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great thing. I think a lot of people would enjoy it as well. The main thing is that you stay true to the music because that's what it's about.
Yeah, 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 absolutely.
So many people get all wrapped up in the charts and how it's doing and radio and all that. Really, what it comes down to is when you hit that first chord of that first song on stage and you start feeling the energy the music brings you.
Oh, I know. Absolutely. It is all about the music. And if you think back of, you were saying the chords and the tune, I remember there was a great song when I first started listening to it, and it was just an instrumental song. It was called Green Onions. Amazing. I mean, it's like that melody sticks in your mind. Then everybody who's written, I know a lot of songwriters, and, I'm always interested in how they come about writing their songs. A very good friend of mine is a fellow called Marty Panzer, who wrote a lot of Barry Manilow songs. And I used to say, how did you come about this song? And how did you write Even Now, for instance? He said, well, I used to send him the lyrics and then he'd put the music to it. I thought, wow, okay. And different people write in different ways. Lennon and McCartney had their own method. Sometimes they wrote together, sometimes they wrote separately. And so all the great songwriters. So to me, that is the very fascinating part of the business, the actual songwriting.
Yes, talent. I know a lot of songwriters here in Nashville.
Yeah.
Some that have written some of the biggest songs of all time.
Oh, no, I remember going to the Bluebird Cafe. All the songwriters would sit around in a circle. Everybody else was at these little tables. It's not a big place, but they'd all start playing their songs on acoustic guitars. And they go, remember this one? And it was some incredible hit. And they'd all be taking turns and singing these great songs that they wrote. That was a lot of fun to watch that.
Yeah, it is. The Bluebird is a great place here in Nashville.
Yeah, I love that.
I think it's great you're getting out there doing your music, but most important, I love it that you're enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
I know a lot of singers, they got caught up in the hustle and the bustle of the music business. Then after a while, in their 50s, 60s, 70s, they just started laying back and enjoying doing their music. Now they say, I feel better playing in front of an intimate crowd than I did in front of 20,000 people.
Oh, yeah. It's a whole different dynamic. If you're destined to be out there and singing in front of people, I think I did it when I knew I could actually do it. It was a great sort of, revelation. It was good to do it. And then you want to keep doing it. Say, okay, let's do that again. That was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's great that you're doing this. It's about having some fun, enjoying the people that are doing it with you, enjoying the music you're performing, then ultimately sitting back, relaxing, taking it all in, and enjoying the fact that you're still doing this.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's about. People talk about, music being the story of their life, type of thing, because there's a song for everything and everybody has their favorite songs, and be it rock and roll, country rock, or classical, whatever, they're entranced by it. It captures you and it takes you into a different world.
It does. I say that music is one of the most powerful tools there is.
Yeah.
You can hear a few riffs on the intro of a song, and once you know it, it can take you back 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah, no, I know. I was writing a little bit of rock and roll. I was trying to write a decent little rock song, and it's a kind of a story, country rock kind of a song, because I was always fascinated by story songs as well. I mean, sometimes there are other songs, of course, that are not story songs, that are very catchy. Things go, what does doo-wah diddy mean? And what does wah baba luma mean? What is, but then when you listen to a song that you could completely connect with, and you say, and also it's interpreted differently all the time. It's not like if you start out to write something, it's not always interpreted the way that you wrote it. People identify it with their own, experience. For instance, like Every Breath You Take. Sting, I think he mentioned that it wasn't about love. It was about him losing somebody. And that's the beauty of music. Everybody has their own interpretation that makes them feel good about it.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone has their own interpretations, as long as they like it and it makes them feel good. Now, how do people find you?
Well, I'm on YouTube, and I have a video that is being played. I have a fan club called Eden Kane, edenkane.com, and also the song's on Amazon. It's on all these platforms. It's out there. We're trying to promote it. And at the moment, it's like 23 on the Heritage chart, and people vote every week, and I'm hoping they'll keep voting to kind of, raise the profile a little bit.
Absolutely. I hope it goes to number one. Well, this has been great. Great conversation, great information. I've really enjoyed this. Thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Well, it's my pleasure, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks again. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed the show. This has been a Tony Mantor production. For more information, contact media@plateaumusic.com.
Did you know Microsoft has officially ended support for Windows 10? Upgrade to Windows 11 with an LG Gram laptop. Voted PC Mag's Reader's Choice Top Laptop Brand for 2025. Thin and ultra lightweight, the LG Gram keeps you productive anywhere. And Windows 11 gives you access to free security updates and ongoing feature upgrades. Visit lgusa.com/iHeart for great seasonal savings on LG Gram laptops with Windows 11. PC Mag Reader's Choice used with permission. All rights reserved.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening. Happy holidays! Want to give your host a gift? Consider subscribing, rating, and reviewing the show this holiday season. It really helps the show grow. From all of us at Believe, have a Merry Christmas, everyone, and a happy holiday.